Although this project is currently in progress, I want to share the results with you and want to show you the different materials that I used here. And actually I'm curious to know if you have used anything like this before to build sort of like outside structures for modern railways. So this is obviously just a generic house that I started building just to see how this technique is going to work. And the technique that I'm using here is, well, I mean, it's not really a technique, it's just I'm trying to see how I can use these bricks that I found on AliExpress and, you know, how well they work with sort of like the other materials. So I built a couple of houses in the past. I've built stuff from concrete, but this time I decided that I'm going to use these cement fiber boards and basically just cut the skeleton of the house and dress it up into, you know, something that looks like a real house. And when I found these small blocks in AliExpress, I thought that I should be able to use these just for decoration, because although they are not really expensive, but probably they are expensive enough for a complete house to be built out of these bricks. And not to mention, these are mainly for doll houses, so like 1/10 scale. So they are definitely oversized or overscale for my 132 railway. But I think you see this kind of building technique in a lot of buildings where you have sort of like a decorative blocks or rocks around like windows and doors and also on the sides of the building. So I wanted to recreate that feeling, and I just used some outside, you know, exterior render just to fill in the blanks in the, you know, just to cover up this cement block or cement board. And I mean, I think the look is not perfect because these type of, you know, block or brick decorations, they usually come with a very nice render. And obviously when I was pouring this render, there is, you know, only very little space available, so it was very hard to get this a really smooth surface. This was the first side that I've done, and I think this was the second side, and I already used a more watered down mix, so I think it looks a little bit cleaner. It's a little bit you know, less bumpy, and this is where I used the most watered down version. And as you can see, I used like a trowel on the sides to try to sort of like smooth it out, which, you know, sort of worked. You can see some lines here. Obviously it's hard to get into these small details and corners, but I'm still liking the look. I think it's like it looks like more like a traditional house, maybe like a adobe or mud house, which have these really rough renders. As I said, that doesn't really go with the brick detail, but you know, if you're not really looking at it up front like this, then probably you won't be able to tell. I mean, it just shows some texture, but it's not really obvious that it's a little bit rough. And you can see this is the unfinished side, so I don't have, so this is just the cement board, and I used construction adhesive to basically glue these bricks on. And I also added some details here, and yeah, the roof is unfinished, so there is nothing on the roof yet. And I think so far it looks, I mean, as I said, it looks great. And I'm thinking that maybe I'm going to have like a small village scene. Maybe I would have another house in the same style. I also want to do a small church, and maybe with these 3 buildings I can do like a small scene. There is some places in the garden where I can create like a separate scene, which is going to look, I think it's going to look rather nice. I'm just trying to get you a little bit closer so you can see those details. Yeah, so that's really close up. And yeah, so these bricks, I don't really know much about them. I think they are probably made out of some sort of powder and maybe some binding material or some glue, and it's probably like pressed in under pressure, and that's how they can make this relatively cheap and also, you know, quite uniform. And I was able to use pliers to cut the bricks in half, so you can see like, you know, half bricks here, half bricks there as well. So all the sides are half bricks, and you can see like a full brick and a half brick. And I was able to just use pliers to break it up, basically just break it in half. You can see quite clean lines here. I have not so clean lines here, so this break in an angle. But I think it's, again, easy to work with them. Yeah, I think the results are great. Probably the other thing I would do in the past is maybe leave bigger gaps between them, so I can get this mortar in between the rocks, because so it, you know, you can see the lines in between. Now it's if you look closely, you can see the individual bricks, but from a distance it more looks like a darker patch. And also, just let me zoom out a little. I'm going to show you the rocks a little bit later, but you can see that I have two different colors. So there is this more black one, or anthracite, and there is this lighter gray. Again, I was purchasing different batches. So if you're thinking about using this to some projects, maybe it's a good idea just to buy sufficient amount of material for a project from a single seller. Because I couldn't tell the different colors from the listing. I don't know if these are because of batches or different manufacturer. Could be both. So yeah, I mean, but I had enough for the window details, and for the footings I decided to use the lighter brick. And by the way, this is that cement board. I have some offcuts, so probably I'm just going to add some like steps here. I still need to just cut this a little bit. Well, probably not this, probably like a bigger piece. But yeah, and I also have something for the roof. So I'm going to go inside, I'm going to show you the product. So I have something for the roof which is more like a Mediterranean type of roof, like this curved roof which they usually put in two different layers. That would be definitely overscale for the building, but I couldn't really find anything, you know, more like traditional plain terracotta tiles which would be more typical in, let's say, in mainland Europe. But yeah, and well, the doors and the windows are something that I CNC cut on my CNC machine. So they are just plywood stuff that been varnished in several layers, and I've used these in many of my other buildings. And yeah, if I turn this around, you can just see that it's basically just you know, these boards are just glued together with construction adhesive. And I should have add some, you know, windows as well from plexiglass, so the bugs don't get into the structure. So let's go inside and look at these different materials. So let me show you the different products here. Well, first of all, well, it's not really building material, but when I was browsing through these, this also came up as a recommended product. Is this called a trowel? No, something else. I forgot the English name. Actually, it came in a bag of two. This is what I use to basically just trying to even out the render using this motion, and also like trying to push it into the corners. So, I mean, it's as good as you know, just a random small stick or toothpick or something like that. But yeah, it was fun. And then you can just work with small amount of materials. So it was probably just a couple of bucks. I will have the listings on the corner. So the 3 different blocks that I got are here. And as you can see, they are roughly the same size, but they are not exactly the same. So let me just put this into my hand, and I can bring this a little bit closer. There's not a huge amount of light in here, but you can see them. So they are roughly the same. So I think they are more or less interchangeable unless you plan to use them side by side. And again, this might differ also from one vendor or one manufacturer from the other. So this black one, this is what I used around the window details. And I'm not really sure if you can see the structure, but this feels like some sort of, like, as I said, made from a powder, and then it was pressed. And I mean, definitely I can't break it, but as I said, I used some simple pliers just to break it, and you know, it was fine. When I meant pliers, I meant something like this. So I put it into the jaws, I pressed, and then it broke. And sometimes it didn't break exactly where I wanted, but then, yeah, I just used another one. So that was the black one. And then the second batch turned out, I mean, I think it's a slightly bit wider, but again, it's like, I don't know, 0.5 mil, something like that. And probably a little bit fatter as well, but again, like 0.5 mil, so not noticeable, but again, definitely lighter color. And there is also this terracotta color. And as you can see, they come in like small bags. I think probably this was 50. I think I have a bigger bag here that was 200. I still have a few here. So yeah, nothing fancy. They come in a bag. And as I said, it's really easy to work with. And finally, the last thing, well, not almost last thing. So the other thing I bought for the roof are these tiles. And as I said, these are more like, I would be typical in Southern Europe, like, you know, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Croatia, that, so more Mediterranean places where you have these small arch roofs. And then the idea is, let me just unpack a few of these, is you put it in 2 layers. So you most probably need quite a few of them for a roof. So you have 1 layer like that, and then you have a second layer in the opposite direction. So hence you need quite a few of these to cover a larger area, and they tend to be a little bit more expensive than the bricks. But again, it's probably again some sort of pressed material. I don't think they are like kiln fired because it would be just too expensive. It's probably just extruded through this you know, profile and then cut, something like that. Actually, I would be interested how these things are made. They're probably made in the most economical way. And again, these are, you know, if you look at the listings, everything says Dollhouse, meaning that they are primarily designed to be indoors. And so far I have no idea how they are going to, you know, hold against weather. I definitely not plan to leave the buildings out for the winter, but it's probably get rained on and get a lot of sunshine as well. So at least they should be able to handle those. And lastly, since it was a sort of like a recommended listing, I also bought 2 of these basically molds. So if you don't want to pay for these bricks, then you can, you know, cast your own. And as you can see, it's the same size. Maybe, yeah, roughly the same size as that. Yeah, I am not sure if I would ever use this one because I think it would be quite a chore to just fill these up and empty them. And if you are serious about, you know, casting your own bricks, I would probably recommend that you buy 10 of these so you can make, you know, batches of 10 at the same time, because mixing this much material is, I mean, you're probably just going to do a lot of waste. But it wouldn't be nice to use these if you want some custom colors. So maybe if you just use like sand and cement and maybe some concrete coloring, then you can have some, you know, some special colors. Although I think these 3 colors are probably going to be good enough. And you have these bigger ones as well. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Probably these could be used for pavers, some, you know, larger slabs to cover an area. But you know, it's nicely made. They probably going to survive quite a few different castings, and so, you know, the castings that I have, concrete casts, are probably, you know, roughly the same, you know, material, probably a little bit harder than this. So this is quite a soft rubber. So I think it will be very easy to extrude the bricks from these. But you know, this could be a good exercise because you create your concrete mix, you fill these up, and probably the next day you can empty it out and then fill it up again. And again, just, you know, keep doing this for weeks, and finally you would have a lot of materials to work with, and definitely going to be cheaper than buying these. You know, cement in these quantities do not cost a lot of money. So that's it. As I said, I wanted to keep this, you know, relatively shorter. I will probably film the next project that I will do with exactly the same materials. So you will have each of the steps, but I just wanted to get this out. Again, if you have worked with these materials, if you have an experience how they, weather outside and how they cope with the outside weather, just let me know in the comment section. But I think that's going to be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next one.